It all happened when we were sitting at the reception desk at our wedding. I've come here to get my compensation for the affair. Both John and I were literally dumbfounded. But what surprised me even more was the fact that John had indeed cheated. Damn, I thought I'd never get caught. And he was justifying it, making it impossible to have a proper conversation. Do you really think you have any appeal as a woman? I married you because you can cook well and you have a body that looks like it can bear healthy children. Stop kidding around. I had reached my limit and slapped John right across the face. Until now, no matter how rude John was, I'd always got through it with a smile and a joke. But this time, I couldn't let it slide. I swore to myself that I wouldn't be satisfied until I had cornered him. On the long-awaited morning of our wedding, I was in the dressing room, wrapped in a pure white dress, secretly hoping that John would tell me, "Lily, you look beautiful." John had been high-spirited since the day before, genuinely looking forward to the wedding. I thought he would be pleased to see me looking different. In fact, I looked better than usual in the mirror, and both my parents and my in-laws praised me. I'm a bit on the chubby side and usually dress plainly. But today, I thought I should be allowed to enjoy being the star of the show. John and I are from the same university. When I was a freshman, he was a senior. I was a member of the broadcasting club, and that's how I met John, who was the captain of the sports team and a well-known figure on campus. Our relationship developed smoothly, and we submitted our marriage registration before our wedding, and we've been living together for the past 3 months. Living together made the wedding preparations more efficient. The wedding venue was about a 10-minute train ride from our house. It was a casual restaurant without any formality. The beautiful and stylish interior made it very popular for private parties. John entered the dressing room. I suppressed my excitement, asked, "Does the dress suit me?" The praise. Immediately, Ben broke into a wide smile and stroked my head. "You've still got a round belly, haven't you? Hope you'll give birth to a healthy baby." I was utterly dumbfounded. Even our parents frowned. "At least don't say that today." Why? It's the truth. I even went on a diet to fit into this dress for the wedding, you know. I forced a smile and patted my belly. In such moments, I feel bad inside, but I always try to brush it off with a joke. One of John's shortcomings is that once he gets too carried away, he can't stop himself. He was teasing and said, "Hey, your belly looks like a balloon." The bride is supposed to be the most beautiful woman on her wedding day. Stop it before you hurt Lily's feelings. John pretended not to know what he had done wrong, saying, "Well, a fat person is a fat person." I'm sorry for our son, he's always been childish. Even though you are younger, you are much more mature. There was no blame for my mother-in-law. I don't mind. It's just his usual self. I flashed a grin and laid on the sarcasm as thick as I could. The two of us quickly pulled ourselves together and took our seats at the reception desk. We wanted a homey wedding and decided to greet the guests personally, bride and groom both. Sadly, most of my friends live on a distant island where my parents' home is, so they couldn't make it. Thus, on the flip side, John had a lot of acquaintances attending. We were okay with the imbalance. My parents and I had made our peace with it. I saw this as a golden opportunity to meet many of John's friends and was actually looking forward to the greetings. John introduced each guest to me, one by one. Every single one of them seemed delighted to meet me, complimenting me with a "You look like a beautiful bride." There was one guest in particular that stood out, a woman named Natasha. She was an acquaintance from work, as I understood. She seemed to be in her 40s, but she had this actress-like aura, especially in her dress and her tall, slender figure. "Fiction, nice to meet you. Lily, I've always been under John's care," she greeted me. "Oh, is that so?" I was certainly overwhelmed by Natasha. He's a looker, right? And she's got her stuff together at work. Quite a different story from someone else I know. She indeed had the aura of someone who's competent at her job. Her designer suit fitted her perfectly without being too flashy, and her makeup was flawless. John was looking at Natasha with a kind of admiration in his eyes that he never showed to me, and Natasha was gracefully accepting his attention. They exchanged words for quite a while. Right now, I'm a full-time housewife, but originally, I left my job because of John's wishes. He insisted that he wanted me to focus on our home. I had only been at my job for 2 years. Just when things were starting to get interesting, I felt pressure to resign. When I think about the unfinished business at my old job, I still feel a tug at my heartstrings. Looking at Natasha, who seemed so dazzling, made these feelings even stronger. This is wrong. Today's supposed to be about us. Our guests should leave having had a good time. I swallowed the anger rising inside me due to John's insensitive remark and kept up with the greetings. Then a middle-aged man in a suit appeared. He had this impressive demeanor, almost like a distinguished actor. "Who's that gentleman over there?" I looked at John, but he seemed to be as clueless as I was. Maybe he wandered in by mistake. It's supposed to be a private event. Just as I was wondering how to handle this situation, the man spoke up. "I'm here to discuss the compensation for an affair." "Excuse me?" John and I were literally stunned. I'm in this line of work. The man handed out his business card with a professional demeanor. It bore the name of a well-known company, and his job title was impressive. He was dressed in an expensive suit, and he carried himself with calm and composure. He didn't seem like he was making things up. "Are you John? Could you please break it off with my wife?" "Wait a minute. John and I are getting married today." I tried to calm the man down, but then I noticed John trembling beside me. "What are you talking about?" John managed to squeeze out those words, though his voice was clearly strained. "My wife should be here somewhere. Don't play dumb, it won't get you anywhere." Wait. Natasha and I aren't like that." "Well, you've just admitted it yourself, haven't you? So you're having an affair with my wife." "Natasha, wait." I couldn't hide my shock. "Natasha, you mean the woman we just greeted?" "I believe so." "What did he say about Natasha?" "I heard it was work-related." "Actually, Natasha doesn't work." The man sighed deeply. "Let's change the place. Can we use the green room?" I asked my parents to handle the reception and went ahead to the green room. The man who introduced himself as Kyle sat down on the sofa in the green room and started talking. It's a blatant lie that Natasha has anything work-related to do with John. I found out through her phone records that she met John on a dating site. "Me in-laws, who are already in the green room," exclaimed in surprise. "And we didn't know anything about this." "Don't make strange accusations. We could sue you for defamation." But Kyle remained calm. "It seems that Natasha has been having an affair with John for 2 years. This time, I couldn't help raising my voice. 2 years ago. But we've been dating since our college days. Isn't this some kind of mistake?" The phone records show it clearly. "Actually, I've been very busy with work for the last few years, with lots of business trips and overtime. It seems that Natasha had the affair when I wasn't looking." Saying this, Kyle took an envelope out of his bag. Inside were printed screenshots of Natasha's smartphone and a couple of photos of her at John. "This is definitely John in these photos, isn't it?" My parents gathered around, and we all checked the photos. I'd been away from home a lot. I can't say I was blameless, but does that justify an affair? My parents muttered in unison, "No, it doesn't." And more than anything, Kyle's demeanor was incredibly convincing. From a certain point, Natasha started wearing a new wristwatch. It was a very nice design, so I looked it up and found out it was part of a pair. I wondered who had the other one, and that's when my investigation began. Kyle had been investigating Natasha's actions during his breaks at work and discovered that she frequently visited a certain station. It turned out to be the station closest to John's company. They were frequently meeting up after John finished work. Kyle then took out several photos from the envelope that appeared to be taken secretly. They clearly showed John and Natasha getting cozy in a bustling district. "You find it fun stalking like this? Don't take your frustrations out on me just because you can't keep your wife happy." John's were bold, but his voice was clearly trembling. "The serial number on my wife's wristwatch is 118. "What about your wristwatch?" My parents restrained Kyle. I took off John's wristwatch and looked at the back of the dial. "It's 118. This is a unique number in the world, right? Is it just a coincidence? How could that be? The evidence is all here. Why don't you just admit it and tell the truth?" Suddenly, John raised his voice and started kicking the chairs in the green room. Damn it. I thought I'd never get caught. "John, is what this man is saying true?" Without looking at us, John answered while fiddling with his smartphone. "There's just one thing that's different. I really do love Natasha." My in-laws whispered to each other in a confused tone. "Today, I invited her because Natasha said she wanted to see Lily." At that moment, there was a knock on the green room door. Natasha came in from the guest room. Thus, apparently, John had called her with his smartphone. "Oh, you really do love me, don't you?" "Of course. My feelings are all for you, Natasha." Natasha and John hugged each other without any hesitation. This time, I couldn't just laugh it off as a joke. I carefully chose my words and asked John, "Is it true that you've been cheating?" since Natasha got married. I reluctantly decided to marry you. We met a bit too late, didn't we? If I had met John sooner, I would have married him instead of ending up with such an uncool person. Kyle straightened up from the sofa and said with a resolute attitude, "So, see, they're so selfish, aren't they? I'm thinking about divorcing my wife, but I'm definitely going to demand proper compensation for it." Schmin at the word alimony? John, did you know that Natasha was married when you started dating her? Yeah, I found out a while after we met. But by then, we were already serious about each other. So you were cheating on me too, weren't you? Unexpectedly, Ajahn shook his head. This isn't cheating, because I have no feelings for you. Then why were you dating me? You were just for housekeeping. What does just for housekeeping mean? According to John, Natasha was his true love, but he needed someone to take care of the household, and he wanted children, so he decided to marry me. It seemed he also judged that it would be a good cover to get married around this time for the company and society. Do you really think you're attractive as a woman? I married you because you could cook a little and you seemed like you could bear strong children. I'd had enough. I reached my limit and slapped John. It was the first time I had ever hit someone. My right hand was tingling. At the same time, I felt disgusted, as if I had touched something filthy. Perhaps the immediately. Kyle pulled out a wet wipe from his bag and handed it to me. Gratefully, I took it and wiped my hands thoroughly. Chilkushnaries, what the hell are you doing? You think you're in a position to define me? Even my mother-in-law couldn't stay silent at his words. Have you always talked to Lily like that? Oh no, not for me. I just lost my temper for a moment. Hey Lily, I got scolded because of you. It's your fault. There's no way that's true. Is it really true that you've been cheating for the past 2 years? Snorted triumphantly. You can't trust what this guy says. Besides, the photos might be fake. But judging from your interactions, it seems like you two really are dating, aren't you? That doesn't prove anything. What, do you have a video or something? I cut into the conversation with my usual surprised tone. I have it on video. Actually, I had secretly recorded today's situation in the dressing room with a hidden camera, planning to show it as a surprise later. I took out the camera from behind the flower arrangement in the room and checked the footage. From the part where John called me fat to where Kyle confronted him about the affair, everything was recorded, unexpectedly turning into big news. But it should be sufficient evidence of the affair. Well done. Lily, and as for this guy, I am truly sorry. Anyways, both apologized to me together. You don't need to apologize. No, it's also our fault for spoiling John and letting him become like this. What can we do to make it up to you? John, you should apologize too. No way. I hadn't done anything wrong. Loving someone is a good thing, right? That's what Mom taught me. That's not what I meant. Stop talking back and apologize to Lily right now. It's okay. The foolish one here is John. Natasha, how about making a confession in front of the camera? Say cheese. I grinned and pointed the camera at them. I didn't expect to have this side of me. Hey, don't make that face. Just joke around and reply like you always do. This is my way of joking around. I can't overlook this. Then shall we cancel the wedding? You're the one who's going to be embarrassed. I was at a loss for words. The party start time had already passed. The guests must be waiting for our entrance at the venue. Though, I should stick to my own decision. Fortunately, I had invited only a few guests, and they were all trusted close friends, so I could make up for it later. The one who really deserves pity here is John. He cares about appearances, so he invited his bosses from work and even his mentors from his college days. Alright, I've got it. Let's start the wedding ceremony. However, just to let you know, we are going to change the flow a bit. I went out to the venue and took the microphone from the MXC. John followed behind me. There was a round of applause from the audience. Thank you all for gathering here today. We were supposed to hold a wedding ceremony, but today's event has been changed to an emergency press conference. The venue suddenly became noisy with whispers and murmurs, so clear and articulate pronunciation, as if I had been trained in broadcasting. I continued, Today, we have a guest named Natasha, who is an acquaintance of John through work. But in reality, well, John, I turned the microphone towards John, like an interviewer. The people in the venue looked puzzled. John hesitated to speak, so I pressed him further. What is your real relationship with her? Voices from the audience also started to chime in, urging him to spill the beans already. Still, John seemed determined to remain silent. If this weren't in front of so many people, I would probably have been slapped hard. His fists were trembling under the table. No choice then. This was supposed to be a surprise for today, but please take a look at the hidden camera footage in the backstage. Everyone, please feel free to enjoy your drinks and meals. The large screen on the stage showed everything that had happened earlier without missing a beat as the video played. The audience watched intently and gradually. Voices of discontent started to rise. What's going on here? This is ridiculous. Someone from the crowd asked. You two are already living together, aren't you? We met in college, registered our marriage 3 months ago, and have been living together since. Leading up today, the venue was in an uproar. I thought I was marrying John out of love, but it seems I was utterly deceived. I had just did my life for him, even quitting my job. What has my life been all about? I could hear John clicking his tongue in frustration. A different guest asked, Lily, what do you want to do now? The atmosphere had completely turned into that of a press conference. To be honest, this is all so sudden. I haven't had time to think it through, but I have my parents and trustworthy friends. I plan to figure things out together with them. This response led to a series of repeated questions from the crowd. John kept his head down, acting as if this had nothing to do with him. Ladies and gentlemen, I know you must have a lot of things you want to say, so I will leave the stage to him. You can grill him as much as you want. I put down the microphone and moved to the entrance of the venue, watching the scene unfold. John was left alone on the stage. Some young men in the audience, their tempers flaring, stood up and approached John, some even throwing drinks and food at him. All right, I get it. I was dating Natasha. Lily just wasn't enough for me. At that moment, my mother-in-law appeared, took the microphone, and addressed everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for my foolish son. If it's not too much trouble, please feel free to give him a piece of your mind. At her signal, people swarmed the stage and surrounded John. I couldn't see John anymore, but I imagined he was getting what he deserved. I thought about how expensive his rental suit was. Concerned about appearances, John had rented the best suit. With this commotion, he would surely have to pay for it. Satisfied after witnessing the chorus of boos from the audience, I returned to the backstage, quickly changed out of my dress, and left the rest to my parents. I also asked them to make sure John couldn't run away from the venue. I wanted to go home immediately, since we started living together, and John had been extremely opposed to me entering his room. He would get angry even if I tried to enter for cleaning or searching for something. I suspected there might be some evidence of his infidelity in his room. I asked Kyle to come with me, and we left the venue, heading for home. I was grateful that we had chosen a wedding venue close to our home. Soon we arrived at our house, and the search of John's room began. And then, one thing after another started to come out. Pictures of Natasha, matching accessories, a pair of watches with a warranty card, and letters from Natasha were all revealed. It even came to light that he was traveling with Natasha under the guise of business trips. Kyle meticulously photographed each of these items, and I put them in a cardboard box. It was almost like a police house search. Once all the evidence was gathered, I video called my mother-in-law. Hi, how's everything going over there? Bravely, she responded as if nothing was unusual. Since the guests are getting heated, and John is still being cornered by everyone. That's good to hear. Can you put your phone near the microphone so that my voice can be heard in the venue? She quickly understood what I meant and did as I asked. Hello, can you hear me? I'm the bride who was supposed to be the star today. I could sense the murmuring in the venue quieting down. I know some of you might be angry. I had an important announcement to make. The venue went silent. Listen, I will be divorcing John. Unfortunately, today's wedding turned out to be a disaster, but feel free to eat and drink as much as you like and go home whenever you're ready. The cost will be fully charged to John. Wait. I wasn't informed about this. Kyle, who was standing next to me, signaled for me to pass the phone to him. While we're on the subject, I have an announcement too. I'm also divorcing Natasha. The crowd murmured in surprise. John, Natasha is an expensive woman. She doesn't do any housework, shops every week, and is absolutely incompetent at work. But now both of you are free, so please, live happily ever after. What am I supposed to do now? You're free to do as you please. Good luck supporting Natasha's lifestyle. I can't afford to support Natasha's lifestyle. Natasha, who was nearby, cut in. Breeze, I'm not comfortable marrying John either. Then you're all alone. But riddance, activity days. Don't bother coming back home from today onwards. A round of applause erupted in the venue. Undressed voices could be heard saying, "Good for her," and other cheers. Eventually, my mother-in-law agreed to let John stay at her house for a while. In just warm messages like, "It must have been tough, but you did well. We support you," started arriving on my phone from close friends who were at the venue. Afterwards, the guests reportedly indulged in a grand feast and drinks and even made sure to take their wedding favors home with them before leaving. A few days after the tumultuous wedding, I was returning to my condo after shopping. I found John standing in front of my door, holding a disproportionately large bouquet of flowers. I came to apologize, hoping you would forgive me. "Can I come in?" "No. Come on, don't be so stubborn. The wedding was just a moment of confusion, right?" "Absolutely not." John, for some reason, had a smug smile on his face. He tried to hand me the huge bouquet of roses. All women love flowers, right? Cheer up. But I had shopping bags in both hands and couldn't possibly accept the flowers. Not that I wanted to, even if my hands were free. "I'm sick of your assumptions and lack of consideration. Just go home." John slowly moved closer to me. I felt threatened and turned my back on him to call my mother-in-law. The back and forth with John continued, and when he tried to force his way into the house with a spare key, my mother-in-law arrived just in time. "What the hell are you doing?" A shout from my usually refined mother-in-law, which I had never heard before, echoed throughout the area. "Mom, why are you here?" "I came here thinking of making amends with Lily. Don't talk nonsense and just disappear. Do not show your face in front of us ever again." With that, my mother-in-law snatched John's bouquet and hit him square in the face with it. John's face was covered in small cuts from the rose thorns, and torn petals and leaves were scattered all over his body, making for a truly pitiful sight. "If you make any more strange moves, I'm calling the police. And don't you even think about coming back to our house." He seemed genuinely scared by her words, unnuffed with his tail between his legs. "I'm really sorry about this. Actually, I declared yesterday that I was severing parental ties with him. He left the house, but I never imagined he would be here." While efficiently cleaning up the remains of the bouquet scattered on the floor, my mother-in-law apologized to me over and over again. "You don't have to apologize. Please come in and have some tea." "Oh, I'm going to excuse myself now. If he comes near you again, don't hesitate to contact me. I will protect you no matter what." I was on the verge of tears from her words. I had an ally on my side. I decided to rely on her in times of trouble, and with that, we said our goodbyes. The keys Kamaruline. I managed to finalize the divorce, and I was relieved. I and Kyle each demanded $30,000 in damages from John. I didn't forget to claim the full $20,000 for the wedding expenses, including the gifts for the guests. The guests seemed to have enjoyed themselves quite a bit, and I couldn't help but laugh. When I saw the hefty bill. John, unable to cover the costs with his salary alone, had moved to a cheap, small one-room apartment and was working tirelessly day and night. His boss had attended the wedding, which resulted in him losing face at work as well, but he couldn't afford to quit his job because he needed to make ends meet. Now, it seems like he's living every day in a very uncomfortable and awkward position. I heard from my mother-in-law that right after that incident, Natasha broke up with him. Early, apparently. Natasha had met a man through an online dating site and decided to date him instead. I can hardly imagine that things will go well for them, especially since Natasha also has to pay us damages. I moved to a smaller but nicer apartment. Moving was a hassle, but I decided it was risky to let John know where I live. The evidence of John's affair is packed in a large cardboard box, sitting in a corner of my new home. So far, the alimony has been paid on time, but I haven't touched the money at all. Thanks to that, my savings have increased significantly. In the midst of all the commotion, a strange kind of fortune befell me. I lost about 15 pounds due to the stress of the divorce. Every time I looked in the mirror, I felt like I had been reborn. I went back to work, and through business contacts, I was able to meet a wonderful man. We're still dating, and every day is fulfilling.